Welcome to Know Your Money. I'm your host, Bronwyn Wayner. With me is Craig Finch, my business partner from Growth Financial Planning. Joining us today and every day is our sound engineer, Warren Grimsley. In our podcast, we will explore our relationship with money and how the psychology of it impacts our financial decisions, as everyone thinks about money differently. We will be presenting a variety of financial topics in an easy-to-understand way, which we hope will assist you in managing your money. Hi everybody, today's episode we're going to be discussing home loans and just giving you a better understanding of it from a financial planning perspective. Craig, Warren, how are you guys today?
Warren, good to see you. Bronwyn, always good to see you.
Guys, always a pleasure.
Awesome stuff. So just basically, what is a home loan? So a home loan is when you lend money from a bank and you need to pay that back. So what you'd be doing is every month you pay back a portion of the loan along with interest. Okay? The amount of interest you pay is dependent on the prime interest rates at the time that you take it. And it might not just be the prime interest rate that is for you specifically. So currently prime interest rate is 10.5%. That doesn't mean that's what you're going to be charged. It could be prime plus 1 or minus 1 or whatever the case is. Okay, then the interest on the home loan and other factors such as whether you opt for a 20 or 30-year bond will impact how much interest you actually pay on your home loan.
Okay, so I am actually looking at buying a house this year.
Hence the episode.
Yes, hence the episode. And I'm looking for some planning advice. So what would be the steps that I would need to take now that I've decided to buy a house?
Okay. So this is sort of the first part. You know, this isn't necessarily financial planning advice. This is where you need to go and do your research, get a few bond originators and find out what they would be charging you. So your credit score is a part of that and they will let you know all of that information, and all different things form part of that. And the best thing you need to do is try and find the best bond originator that's going to give you the best interest rates. That to me is the first part of it.
Okay, and sorry, what is a bond originator?
I think it could be a private person, a consultant who goes to the market, goes to all the banks and home loan companies, takes your profile and they will give you the best rate for the house you're going to buy.
Right, okay, I understand.
Okay. Then from a financial planning perspective, what we think is just understand what they say you should pay back, and if you were to pay back a little bit more, how much can that actually affect you?
Okay, so if I'm to understand, so let's say I've gone through a bond originator, I've found the best price / interest rate for me, and I've bought the house. I'm now paying, say, call it, 15,000 Rand a month back on a 20-year loan or bond, sorry. This is where you guys would then step in and maybe advise me on how to pay it back sooner, what the benefits would be.
100%. So Craig, do you want to explain how this would be?
The very important side of this, Warren, as well, is how many years you're going to pay it off. So initially, if you take a longer period, I think we spoke about that compounding snowball effect in previous episodes. But if it's a 30-year term, you'll pay less on the repayment. So just an example, I'm going to use R1 million here. If you bought a property for R1 million and let's say the interest rate's 8%. And your term is 30 years. So I've got 30 years to pay my house off. What am I paying every month? 7,300 Rand a month.
So you might want to go for this option because it's cheaper monthly.
Correct. Then you could do it over 20 years, same bond, R1 million, same interest rate, 8%, but you have to pay 8,300 Rand approximately on that. The difference is that at the end of the day, at the end of the 30 years, you would have your R1 million property, you would have paid over 2.6 million Rand for it.
Wow.
On your 20-year term, which was only a couple hundred Rand more initially, you would have paid just over 2 million Rand. So a difference of around 600,000 Rand over the
So,
period.
yeah, and as far as long-term finances go, that's significant, really.
Exactly. So don't be short-sighted and see the 7,000 versus 8,000. You've really got to look at the 20-year versus the 30-year.
Yeah, it looks cheaper, doesn't it? Because you're only thinking about today. But if you're thinking about your retirement, well, it's costing you a lot of money.
100%. And the biggest thing is to not only pay exactly what they're saying to pay. Because if you're doing that, you're going to take 20 years to pay off your bond. If you can rather pay a little bit more, you are saving yourself more money and the term is shorter. Do you want to explain it a little bit more, Craig?
Well, I'll take an extreme case here, and unfortunately the banks don't provide for this. In other words, could I pay my home loan monthly, and at the end of each year I increase my repayments by 5%? So back to my example, 1 million rand bond, 8% interest rate on a 20-year bond. But I decide to increase my payment, my 8,300 rand odd. I increase that by 5% every year.
Sorry, Craig, just to stop you there. So you're saying the people will have to physically phone the bank and increase it every
That's
year?
right. There's no...
So that's an important part.
And back to the discipline, hopefully, you do that every year. But it's a pity the banks don't allow that facility like the investment houses. If you increased your repayment by 5% over the 20-year period, well, it won't be 20 years, you would have paid 1.6 million rand.
So another 400,000 rand savings.
Yeah, nearly 400,000 rand savings on the same bond, and you would have paid it off in 140 months. So in other words, you paid it 100 months sooner than you would have paid your original bond by just increasing your repayment by 5%.
That's, I think, something that people really do need to know, because the whole point of financial planning, if I understand it right, now I've spent some time with you guys, is looking at how to make your money work for you best in the long term.
100%.
And if you can save 400,000 rand and also then pay your bond off quicker, considerably quicker, 100 months quicker, that's a no-brainer. If you can afford and be disciplined in your spending and saving to increase it 5% a year, which doesn't sound like a lot when you're looking at that monthly,
No.
then surely you should do it.
And then also back to one of our other episodes is when that debit order stops, you used to paying it. So redirect that somewhere else into savings and save on that. But also just with this 5%, that example that we've given might not be 100% accurate if your interest rate fluctuates.
Yes, sure.
So that's a big thing to also take into consideration is, that 5%, sometimes the interest rate also increases, which makes the portion that you've increased, more of it go to paying the interest. Does that make sense?
Yes, and technically you're very right, Bron, but I think the bottom line is that if you increase it, you're going to pay it off a lot earlier. And if it's 100 months or 90 months, whatever, you're going to have 100 months extra to save for other things, for your retirement, your children's education, whatever it might be. Yeah. It means you're paying less interest for your home loan, but you still own the house, the same house, but paid off a lot quicker. And anybody who pays a home loan off feels so much wealthier and more relaxed.
Yeah. Just be smarter with your money. If you
know your money.
Yes.
Right. Know your money.
Know your money, be smarter with it, and see what you can do to make life easier in the future.
Yeah. Correct. And in saying that, we're also not saying that you're not smart with it. It's just these things we don't actually know. We don't get taught. We don't always talk about it.
It's funny that, isn't it, how we don't get taught this stuff in school.
Yes.
But there's a plethora of useless information I learned that I've forgotten.
Exactly. And that's why we want to be here, to try and just help people wherever we can.
And this example is as close to what we were talking about of compound interest. Because you're compounding it and you're reducing the debt by 100 months.
You're making it work for you rather than against you.
Correct.
Yeah. Definitely. So I definitely think the take-homes from this episode is to not just settle for the first home loan that you get. Do your research, make sure that you're getting the best interest rates. And secondly, if you can afford to increase those payments so you can pay it off quicker and redirect that money to some other financial goal. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Warren. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Warren. Great episode.
Yep, thank you very much. Again, learning every day.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe or visit our website www.growthfp.co.za. The information we have provided in this podcast is our personal opinion. For more detailed information, please discuss your financial situation with a financial planner.